What a difference a year makes. It's been 365 days since I was diagnosed with leukemia. And in that year, so much has changed for me, some for the worst and a lot for the good. And I want to talk to you about how much has changed for me. I want to kind of take you on a little bit of that journey. But more importantly, I want you to think about, as we go through this video, what can change for you? Where can you be a year from now? My name is Tom. I'm the founder of Vertical Motion, where we help mid-career professionals become executives. If you're someone with 10 to 15 years of experience in the workforce, you're maybe at the senior manager level or the junior director level, and you feel like you've hit a glass ceiling that's keeping you from taking the next step up, that's what I help with. I help you get through that glass ceiling to the next level, to the VP level and beyond. If that's interesting to you, if you want to work with me on taking that next step in your career, there's a link in the description where you can book a call with me, and you and I will talk about how we can help you take that next step in your career. You can also subscribe to this channel. I put out content twice a week about leadership and executive skills and things like that. I also have an Instagram at TomCoxVM where I put out about a reel a day of content. You can also message with me there. So with that, let's get into it. Somebody once told me that you can overestimate what you can do in a year, but you underestimate what you can do in a decade. What I've learned in the past year is that it's very easy to underestimate what you can do even in a year. So much has changed for me in the last 365 days. On August 11th of 2022, I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, and I was told by the oncologist and the nurse practitioner in the emergency room that I had weeks left to live. And they said it would be surprising if I got to see October. So this was August, and so I had less than 2 months left to live. And they needed to start treatment immediately. So they admitted me into the hospital. They transferred me to the main hospital at Emory Hospital, downtown Atlanta. And a couple days later, they put a tube in my chest and then started filling that tube with some of the most caustic chemotherapy drugs that are out there. The specific chemotherapy drugs that I took are derivatives of mustard gas. They're called anthracyclines. They're called daunorubicin and cytarabine. So the regimen that I was on is called a 7-3 regimen. It's old school chemo. It's what they used to give in the 70s, where people had a 20% shot of survival. As the course of chemo went on, obviously, not only was I sick from the leukemia, now I was sick from the chemo as well. And things got pretty dicey. And I remember lying in bed one day, not sure if I was going to make it through. I remember leaving my house and heading to the hospital to go to the ER. And I was looking at my house thinking, is this the last time I'm going to see my house? While I was in the hospital, there was a moment that I'll never forget. It was a very special moment for me. I realized in this moment that I was watching the chemo go through the tube. It's like this orange fluid kind of going through the tube and into my chest. And it went into my chest because they couldn't put it in my arm, because they said if they put this chemo in my arm, it would melt my veins in my arm. And that sounds awful. So they put a tube that goes directly into the biggest vein in your chest. And I'm watching this fluid, and I realized that but for this fluid, I'll be dead before Halloween. And in that moment, I realized a couple things. One, the first thing I realized was that life is a gift not promised. We take for granted the things that we do day after day, day in and day out. We get mired in the challenges of the day, and we get focused on the minutia of the day. And I'm still guilty of this, even post-cancer. Newsflash, I survived. But I'm even guilty of this today, where I get kind of bogged down in the details of things. But in that moment, I had an absolute sense of clarity that every day that I live, if I survive, will be a gift that was never promised to me. And that changed how I thought about the future of my life. The second thing that happened was I was able to forgive everybody that had ever hurt me, which was a real special gift that I really appreciate. And then finally, the third thing that I realized was that I was not living true to my life purpose. I was called to teach people how to become leaders. And that's what I'm doing here with this program. My mission is to remind people that leadership is something that's sacred and something that should be held in high esteem. It's not just a path to power. Those who crave power for their own personal gains absolutely do make their ways to the highest levels of leadership, but good leaders can make their way to the highest levels of leadership too. And those are the people that I feel compelled to reach and help. So in that moment, I realized that, I wasn't living true to who I was. I had a fantastic job, worked with a great company, had a great team. I really enjoyed what I did, but there was something missing and I knew it, and I was burying that feeling for years. And finally, in that moment, lying there looking at that chemo bag, I realized that I can't hide from my calling anymore. That if I get out of this hospital, if I do survive this treatment and this disease, I need to redevote my life to focusing on my life purpose, which is helping develop leaders. And so that's what I'm doing now. Obviously, newsflash, I did recover. I did make it through. It was 6 months of hell, but we got through it. And by middle of February, I was deemed to be in complete remission. And my blood numbers since then, over the last 6 months, have been clean. So right now I'm in complete remission from leukemia, and my oncologists feel like there's a low likelihood that the leukemia will come back, at least for a couple years. I see the world as I have a couple years to focus on what I love, and that's what I'm doing. If you had told me on August 10th of 2022, the day before I was diagnosed with leukemia, that I would go on that journey, and that would lead to this journey, starting Vertical Motion, starting a program to help people become highly effective leaders, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see this future for myself. I am superbly grateful for this present. I'm ecstatic that this is what I get to do, and that every day I wake up, I work on this. I help people. I love doing this. I absolutely adore my job. I lean into my clients. When I'm on a call with a client, I get energized. I have more energy after the call than I had before the call. And so for me, this is, a dream come true. That the day before I was diagnosed with leukemia, I wouldn't have believed that this is where I would be right now, a year later. I bring all of this up because I want you to take a moment and think about where you are right now and where you could be 1 year from now. There are a lot of decisions that you can make between now and this same date next year that can change the course of your life and either put you closer or further from your life purpose. And if you choose to lean into what your life purpose actually is and start aligning your career with that life purpose, you're going to find a sense of power and energy that you didn't know that you had. You're going to feel at peace. And it's scary, very scary to go out and do something that maybe you've never done before or you're not good at yet. The truth is that you have to be bad at something until you can be good at something. So imagine yourself 1 year from now. There's two paths that you can take. One path is that you're 1 year older than you are today, and you're just as miserable, if not even more miserable. Maybe you're making the same pay, or you got that 2% pay raise that's not even really promised because it's difficult. These are difficult times, and so there's always excuses why you're not going to get the pay raise. You're not going to get the promotion. They're going to lay off people around you and then expect you to pick up the work. You can stay right where you are and live that life and complain about it and come home and kick the dog and drink the wine and turn on the TV and forget about it until tomorrow, and do that for 365 more days. Now I want you to imagine what it would be like if you came and worked with me. And so think about, what if you actually did take that step towards becoming an executive, where you actually worked with a coach to help you get there? The first thing you and I would do is we would build a clear executive career blueprint where you would know exactly where you are and who you are, and then where you're going and who you want to be, and all the things that are in between you and that actualized version of yourself, that executive version of yourself. Then we install all of the executive skills and mindsets all the mindset shifts that you need to make in order to think and act like an executive. Because executives are not super managers. They do different things. They think differently. And this is why it's confusing to you to be in that mid-manager role, looking up at executives like, well, they're just a higher level manager. No, they think differently. And that's the confusion that I think most people have about why they can't get to the VP level. It's because executives have different responsibilities, they have different mindsets, and they have different gifts that they lean into. Just like when you went from individual contributor to manager, you had to learn a whole new set of skills. The same thing happens here, except there are fewer people to teach what those steps are at the higher level. Working with me, you learn how to access the executive job market, which is kind of a hidden market. 70% of all executive roles are never posted anywhere online. And a lot of them are created by the individual who comes to the company. And so if a company identifies you as somebody they want on their team, they're gonna reach out to you and then they're gonna have you help them write your position description. This happens a lot more often than you might think it does. You learn how to do those things when you work with me. We help you with negotiation, we help you with interviewing, and we help you with the first 90 days in the program to make sure that that you do well in your new role. And if it doesn't, we work to figure that out with you too. We don't just help you get the job, we help you become an executive. And then once you are an executive, we help you become the best executive that you can be. So imagine that you've spent 365 days in a program like that where you're working with me and you're out there and finding opportunities that align with who you really are, what really lights you up in your job. You probably have a job that has tasks that you're required to do, and there's like 1 or 2 of them that you love and 8 that you hate doing. We help you find roles that really focus in on those 2 things that you love and delegate those 8 things that you hate. 1 year ago, I couldn't have imagined the journey that I went on in this past year. I couldn't see this version of myself a year ago. But the thing about being a coach is that when I look at you, when I talk with you, I see the highest, best version of you. Coaches see the highest, best version of yourself that you can't. We see you. We see the version of you that you can be, even if you can't see that version yourself. That's what we do, is we help you see that version of yourself, and we help you get to become that version of yourself. So when you work with an executive career coach, we're helping you become the best executive that you can be. I love what I do, and I know what I do works, and I've proven it time and time again. My first 2 clients landed their executive roles in 60 and 90 days. Before them, I worked with dozens of professionals unofficially to help them actually take that next step in their career. I helped a friend, Mike, finally get to the VP level after 10 years of trying. I helped a friend, Greg. I helped Sam. I helped all these other people that were at the mid-career level. I helped them land VP level roles or even higher level roles in their career. And I helped mentor and guide them through all the challenges that they had. So I've been doing that for probably a decade now, and I love that work. But now I'm working with people inside of my program, and it's amazing. We have 10 people in the program today, and they're doing a phenomenal job, all of them taking this next step in their career. I'm excited to share more about what they do over the next coming months. And if you're ready to take that next step in your career, then book a call and let's talk about how you can join that cohort, how you can work with me and my team, and we can help you take that next step in your career. Imagine where you can be a year from now if you take that step and invest in yourself. And even if you don't believe in yourself, in your transformation, let me believe in you and let me show you the version of yourself that you can be. Book a call and we'll talk about it and see if you can take the next step. It's been an amazing year for me. It can be an amazing year for you. And I hope that you'll give a call and we'll talk through it. That's what I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you in the next video.